Hi everyone, how are we doing this evening? Good? Yeah, so my name is Sam. Welcome to Startup Grind London. Wow, we've got a lot of energy in the room today. So yeah, welcome to Startup Grind's Women's Month. So this month is Startup Grind Women's Month. So Startup Grind all over the world, we're hosting events like this, where we're celebrating women in technology, women in startups, women building amazing things. So I'm going to run through this slide just to talk about Startup Grind a bit, what we do, our vision, and what we're about. So Startup Grind is a community of entrepreneurs, yeah, and it's the world's largest community of startup founders, innovators, creators. So we do this through local events. So we host local events in all of the cities that we're in. So we're in about 120 cities across the world. So if you go to any location for vacation, for anything, right, just look up Startup Grind and you get to like meet amazing people like this, right? So we feature London entrepreneurs monthly through our non-profit activities. So we host events like this every month. So if this is your first time coming, hope to like attend another event as good as this next month. Thank you. So these are our community values, and these are things that really we owe there, right? So at all of our events, this is what we promote. You help others, you give first. So it means that you give first before asking for help. So that's our mantra. So you don't look for, you want to talk to someone, want to like hustle them, or want to like talk about what you're building or anything. You want to like help them first before you talk about yourself. Education, making friends, connection, and inspiration. So that's our values. So thank you. And where to find us, we write an amazing newsletters. So you can subscribe to our newsletters, get amazing deals. So we've got partners, we've got people we're working with, and they share content and they share like, we're going to hear a lot about that today. Well, yeah, that's it. And yeah, next slide. Yeah. So maybe you want to come up on stage with me, thank you. So we're very short time today, but yeah, we've got a new member of a community.
This is me, yeah.
Yeah, his name is Matt. So I'll just give a quick overview about Matt. So Matt has been an amazing supporter of our community. I don't think he has missed any meetup or
one or two, yeah.
any events since I've joined this community, right? So he's been attending since 2016, like being a member of the community since 2016. That's a long time. So I just joined the community like last year. So it's like an OG member, and it's like,
yeah.
So it feels right for him to join the community. So he's joining us to support our activities. So if anyone else also feels like you want to like join this community and you want to like also be an ambassador or contribute to the amazing work we're doing, you can reach out to me after the event. So let's give Mark a round of applause. Thank you. Yeah, thank you. So I just want to say like a thing or two. So May marks one of our favorite annual team months at Startup Grind. So at Startup Grind, we do team every month. Like so as to have like a synchronicity across all of our chapters across the world. So although we celebrate women leaders all year round, during SD Women's Month, we give special kudos to the amazing, incredible, intelligent women who make the tech, investor, and startup landscape what they are today. Join us in recognizing female leaders from all over the world and give shout out to an inspiring leader using hashtag SGWomen. So I know you're going to be taking a lot of pictures today. You're going to be learning a lot from our panelists. So when you're sharing it out there, remember this hashtag. So it helps us curate all of the amazing things you've got to say about that. You also get to see other amazing things everyone has been talking about women this month. Thank you. And this is our team. A very small, nimble team. So we've got Prem, is our chapter director. We've got James, who is unavoidably absent today. And that's me. And we've got Gabriel as well. So yeah, and Matt is going to be joining this list from next month. Yeah, this is our agenda today. We're a little bit, no, we're not a little bit, we're behind time. So we're going to be rushing stuff today. Well, yeah, So yeah, that's pretty much everything. So meet our partners. In the next couple of like 5 minutes, I'm going to be walking our partners up on stage. We're going to be talking about their companies. So let's give them a round of applause as I bring it up. Oh my God.
Hey everyone, thank you very much for coming over to Landmark today. We're a partnership with Startup Grind. We recognize that a lot of our ancillary products are actually relevant to startup businesses who are, looking to adopt a hybrid or flexible working solution. Hence our relationship with Sam and team. Just a couple of fun facts, so if you wouldn't mind, thank you. So we've got 39 buildings across the UK. Lovely little map of where we are in the West End and in the city. We service over 11,500 customers a day, and we're in 6 key cities in the UK. There's only 5 on that map because London's not on there. I've already relayed that onto marketing. We are a relatively small business. We're 165 employees, 24 years in the industry. I've been in it for 16 of those years. And our net promoter score is plus 59, which I'm told is pretty decent. So welcome to Landmark Space. We have a promotion going on our partnership with RTB. So if you're interested in any of the products, there's a brochure by the door. And as an RTB member, you guys get 30% discount from us. So if you're interested in anything like that, just come and have a chat with me throughout the course of the evening, and I will sort that out for you. And there we go. Thank you, Sam. That's it from me. Thank you, everyone.
Hi, everyone. So I'm Albert. I work for a company called Airwallex. I'm here with my colleague, Oriel, from our sales team. I'll keep it super high level and brief. Airwallex is a global payment platform. We serve businesses of all shapes and sizes, from startups to enterprise customers. And essentially, we help businesses receive funds in a multitude of different currencies through the provision of virtual receiving accounts and supporting online payment processing. Once businesses have collected those funds, we give them treasury management tools, FX conversions, things like that. And then on the payout side, we allow those businesses to then send and spend those funds in pretty much anywhere around the world at any time. So the value prop lends particularly well for startups, but as I say, for businesses of all shapes and sizes as well. So if anyone is interested and wants to have a conversation, then do seek us out, and happy to chat. Thank you.
So in addition to just joining the Startup Grind team today, I'm part of law firm Howard Kennedy, and at Howard Kennedy I am helping to run the startup program, so it's called Howard Kennedy Ignite. We have been helping founders for over a decade build, raise and scale their companies. So we're currently working with more than 1,000 founders, just trying to simplify their legal challenges. We have one of the biggest VC networks in London. So what we are doing is going out and trying to proactively help our startup founder clients raise capital more effectively. And we also, if you're looking to scale, we can provide you with non-exec directors in industries that you're looking to break into. So they can give you a black book of contacts that you can use to build your business and brand. We do this, we provide 30% discount off, or up to 30% discount off our fees, I should say. Networking events, so they're invite only. We do them every month or so. The strategic partners I've mentioned, and then we do complimentary legal training sessions. There are a number of our team here today, if you'd like to raise your hands, so everyone knows where to find you. Fantastic. That's great. So if you've got any questions, any legal challenges, do reach out to one of the team, and we'd be happy to help. Thanks.
Right, welcome everybody. Thank you for joining us on this incredible day and with this incredible panel. So I'm Véronique Rapetti. I'm the moderator Like I said before, these are the experts here tonight on AI. I will hopefully generate a good conversation for all of us. So I'm Véronique. I'm VP of OWIT UK, which is Organisation for Women in International Trade. We are a non-for-profit organisation supporting the development of women's entrepreneurs, especially when it comes to international trade, growth, cross-border. And I'm joined today with some amazing speakers. But before I introduce them, I've got a few facts that I found on the internet. Actually, I asked ChatGPT for that. Interesting. How can I start the meeting using AI? So, today it's a celebration of entrepreneurship, women, and technology. And so I wanted to say this fact, which is very interesting, is did you know that the first ever computer programmer was a woman? Ada Lovelace. Do you know that? God, we've got an experienced crew here. She was an English mathematician and writer, and she wrote the first world algorithm for Charles Babbage analytical engine in the 19th century. So her visionary work laid the foundation for what we will call today artificial intelligence. I see you all nodding, so we are in the right space then. So I think this historical fact not only highlight the role of women in and the contribution within the technology, but as well I think set us for a good conversation today about AI impact in technology in the world of business. Plus, I recently read an interesting fact on LinkedIn, and I think it was real news, not fake news, that funding in generative AI has gone from $15 million to $250 million between 2022 and 2023. So I think whoever is in this industry, including you, I think, funding should be there for you to support you. So I guess it's certainly a sector to watch. And I'm sure there's maybe other startups here using AI. So I'm delighted to welcome this exceptional panel sitting along me. So I'm going to start with Tonia Samsonova. She's the founder of Exactly.ai, empowering artists to train generative models while preserving ownership. And she's pioneering AI solution for the creative profession. And I'm going to do a quick introduction, but then we'll come to you and you can have your voice on who you are and why you're here today. Aifa Shoholo, I hope it's nicely pronounced. She's the co-founder of Cloud FO, building the AI finance colleague for businesses, helping them drive business performance by taking on the work of reporting, planning, budgeting, and we all know that these are important elements, when you run your business. And she's a strong advocate for diversity and mentorship in technology. And then last but not least, to my right, Shanuki Ilushka Serezing. I hope I pronounced correctly. Could do better. You are a Chief Data and Technology Officer at Boom. You have a PhD in data science and you're researching environmental aesthetic impact on well-being. So quite an interesting topic. You are the co-founder of a platform called Beautiful Places, mapping scenic spot globally. So in case, if you look at the world and you want to see where are the best spot, I think that's the platform to look at. And together, we've got 3 themes we're going to cover as per the LinkedIn post. Just to remind them, we're going to talk about the role of AI for women. We're going to look at inclusivity and ethical consideration with AI, and as well how we can develop women AI leaders. I've got some general questions as well, time permitting. But before we proceed, anyone has a specific topic that they would like us to raise? And so we can start thinking about that before we go into the conversation. And if not, keep your question for the end. So now it's time for you to have your voice, ladies. What else can you add about yourself? And I think what's interesting to understand is what brought you here, where you are today, and with using AI. So who wants to start?
Okay. We made a joke earlier that we were just going to point at each other, so you might see us do that.
And then I say maybe they're going to send back the question to me as well.
Yeah. Okay, I'm going to start, but I do have the most complicated story. But I hope it's inspiring because, there's so many ways of getting into AI. So I was actually working digital since the 1990s, late 1990s. I know that's a surprised because I don't look as old as I actually do. So thank you, parents, for that. So I was working in digital. It was in Northern California, hence a little bit of a California twang. And I was very excited about what was happening on the commercial web at the time. So I'm always chasing innovation in the web. So I worked in digital for a very long time. And then there was the financial crisis. I was running my own business at the time, and I decided, actually, this is too stressful. I want to take a break. I actually went back to university, and I studied economics. And the reason I studied economics is I wanted to study economics in the first place, but during that time, my professors, every time I wanted to do something sciencey, would actually talk me out of it. And I'm like, now I've got the money, I'm going to do whatever I want. And I just did it. And so I got from economics, and I was doing behavioral economics, and I saw a PhD which said use online data to understand human behavior. And I thought this is really cool because I can use my experience with digital and then also combine that with a new area I was absolutely fascinated by, and that was data science. So I ended up doing my PhD, which was quantifying the connection between beautiful places and our well-being. So this is kind of like my side gig startup, because everybody has to have 2 jobs these days. And that's how I really got into AI. So it was just a complete passion. So I think the moral of the story is it doesn't matter. There's no direct route to get into AI. If you're passionate about it, you can make it happen. So.
Great, inspiring story. Next.
Okay.
Now it's your turn.
Your story is cool. I'm 37. I was born in Russia. For the first 10 years of my life, I was working as a journalist, an investigative journalist, and had nothing to do with AI whatsoever. Then in 2013, I moved to London, and I realized that when I'm 26, I don't want to pursue my career as a foreign correspondent because it's quite boring. And I was absolutely unhireable because my job was connected with being able to use the language in a professional way and being able to understand Russian politics, corruption, investigative research. So it's basically there is no use in what you're doing in a new country. And so the only way the unhireable person can pursue, and if they want to work, is to become a founder of the company and so and fundraise. And at some point, fundraising for your company is easier than finding a job, especially in this market in London. And so, because I leveraged my journalistic connections, and that was quite popular at the time in the country, I raised funds to start my company, and it was a Q&A website where people were supposed to ask questions that they can't find answers on the internet. And then I had a notebook of a lot of amazing experts, so I called them and asked that question. I realized what I'm doing is basically I'm doing a search engine for the places where search engine doesn't work. Well, funnily enough, in 5 years, the search engine companies started to copy my product because the volume of expertise that we had by that time was big enough to get on their radars. Currently, this job is done by Perplexity. So if you don't use Perplexity, I try to use it. It's an amazing product, and it's superb. So search engine company acquired my service, and I started to work as a product leader of a search engine, and everyone in the room were machine learning engineers. And I was just like, okay, I should educate myself a bit into what are those guys in the room doing. And then at some point, we had this funny problem. Whenever we were small, if somebody asks me a question, I know exactly whom I should text message and ask for an answer. It's basically what everybody does. If you don't know the answer, you call somebody. If there are 100 questions per day, you can do it yourself. If there is 1,000 questions per day, you have an editorial team. But then at Yandex, we had 100,000 questions per day and then 1 million questions per day and several million experts on the database. So it's impossible, absolutely impossible to hire enough people, educated people, who will be able to do this, as we called it, Tinder for questions and experts. And then some of my team members said, Tonya, because you've made some good connections and good matches before, we can use the data of the good matches to basically train an algorithm so that when a new question will be asked, we can send it to a relevant expert. She's like, what? He repeated, he said, look, you know which answers are good on the system. We have a rating, we have a number for them. You know to whom those questions were sent. So if we have a good answer, probably that means that the connection was made in the right way. You did this connection yourself throughout 5 years. You've been doing that. We have enough data to put it into the algorithm so that when the new question will come up, we will make a good prediction to whom to send it. Okay, and then in 2 weeks, he showed me an algorithm and it works. And it worked, well, probably, obviously not as good as me, but in 90% of cases, it was much better than me. And also it didn't have these gray areas of expertise. And that's how I've learned about AI. And I thought, and my first learning was, AI is something that I can train, and that my data and my predictions and my experience is the most important ingredient. And then many years after that, I used this insight to build whatever I'm building now.
Wow. Oh, good story too.
Hi everyone, I'm Afia. I think one thing that I can hear from both stories, and probably my own, is we've all quite had a diverse journey to get to where we are. So I've never worked in the same industry twice. I actually started my career studying material science and engineering. While I was studying, I went to do an internship or a year placement at the Ministry of Defence. I actually worked in the most secure building in the UK, fun fact. But while I was there, I was doing material research. So I would run experiments on physical pieces of samples of material, depleted uranium. You can infer what you would like to infer from that. And then I would use experimentation techniques to analyze that material. And then I would use data science techniques to actually look at my analysis. But I didn't necessarily call it AI or machine learning. I was trying to solve a problem that hadn't actually been solved before. Most of the investigation that had been done in the literature have been done by cutting up pieces of that material. And again, if you infer things from the context I was working in, you can't necessarily cut things up when they're in use in terms of weapons manufacturing. So it was about how can we simulate what's going on with that material. And again, I was not necessarily calling it data science or machine learning, but actually I was just trying to solve a problem. And someone I met earlier today talked about wicked problems. And that's just been a theme through my career. It's something that hasn't been done before and we need to solve it. So what techniques and what tools can we apply? Then went on to work in manufacturing. Again, things that have been, at the time, processes that had been running longer than I'd been alive, and people like to remind me of that when I was a little bit younger. And we were bringing, again, real-time data analytics to these manufacturing processes. With those manufacturing processes, especially in ceramic production, you can't wait till 7 weeks once a part is finished that has to go into someone's body to work out if it's cracked. So how can we use data and intelligence upstream along the way so we can find out whether this part needs to be scrapped earlier and save money? Then went on to work in e-commerce. Some of the problems I was solving there was how do you route your grocery orders to you in the fastest possible way, especially the differences between rural environments versus central London. Fun fact, if you've ever shopped online at Tesco, for example, where I used to work, your orders do not come from a shop, they come from a fulfillment center. And it's really optimized, it's robots, it's, some of them are a bit more better than the others, but it's very optimized, and then we just lose all the money on the road. All the margin is lost because of traffic, parking fines, people not answering the door quickly. And so we were building routing algorithms so that we knew, this is actually a drop off to an older lady who really likes to talk and really wants a conversation. Also, this is the flasher. This is the person. So we could build in these challenges, these really human challenges with technology. And then went on to work for a company called Onfido, which did identity verification. So matching your biometrics to your digital documents like your passports and your driver's license. Again, solving the problem of identity is huge. We are all different. There are at any given time, over 4,000 documents in circulation. If you think about each country has passports, has driver's license, provisional, ambassador license, different versions. I've got a red passport, my partner's got a blue one. It's all very different. You've got to match all those documents and the person's face, and we all look different. And we have to make sure those algorithms work for everybody, which again is a huge challenge. So always wicked problems, and now I decided to take on probably the wickedest, which is my own business, which is called Cloudifo, and we're building the AI finance colleague. We found that many businesses that we loved would go out of business, and it wasn't because the team wasn't talented. Oftentimes it was because of poor financial management. And we were working in organizations that could spend huge amount of money on finance consultants, experts, huge data science teams, but the average business doesn't actually have that. Even some of the most successful businesses, there's a few people crunching numbers, doing reporting, and not necessarily being able to think to the future. 39% of SMEs don't budget. And the rest that do takes about 7 weeks to complete a budget. And in organizations I've been in, 3 months for budgeting process was pretty accurate. And so we're trying to solve the problem of business performance and helping people with AI really understand what's going on in their business and how they can grow it. So yeah, just like the others, kind of a whirlwind to get to where I am, but there are threads and there are lessons that you can take along the way from each place. And you know, maybe 15 years ago it wasn't called AI or machine learning, but actually it's about solving quite a wicked problem, as you mentioned earlier.
So I think, yes, between us, you kind of have a lot of experiences, different sector, different industry, different problem you're solving with AI. And that brings me to the first theme, you know, the role of AI for women. And the question I have here is, how has AI transformed the landscape for women in technology? And what do you think are the opportunities that are emerging in this space? I mean, you all say you all fell in a way into AI, but now it's becoming mainstream. What do you think are the new opportunities?
I want ping pong. I'll do it. My turn. And well, unlike the others, I don't have a background in connected with the technology, and I don't have the previous education. So I had to learn along the way. And one of the things that gives me, and it doesn't matter for me, like if I'm female or male or whoever I am, I know that every human being have some areas of expertise where he feels they feel very comfortable and confident. Well, with the others, you feel shaky and then you try to grow. With this world that develops much faster than before, and AI pretty much, to me, speeds up the process of like expanding the knowledge and expanding the communication, I feel like my speed of getting new knowledge should also be expanding. Well, but I'm a mere human being, and my memory with getting older, my memory will be declining, and my capability of learning new things, because of the learning curve, will also be declining. And so for me, AI brings this absolutely valuable thing of partnering my brain with, I'm sorry, ChatGPT for Zero or Perplexity. What I'm doing now is that when a CTO of my company brings new scientific piece about machine learning, I can't read it, because for me it's like written in the foreign language. If somebody will explain to me what's written there, the concepts behind those paragraphs and those terms, because those are professional terms, I feel like I will be able to understand, because I have a flexible mind. But I lack this 5 years of proper education in order to go through this professional document. What I do is I take a paragraph, I put it into ChatGPT and I ask, explain it to me as if I don't have the education here, or explain it to me as if I'm 11. And then I get the understanding. And with this, I can skip through the whole body of the text, maybe a bit slower than the professional, but still I can do things in chemistry and biology and in AI in order to get understanding that I need as a manager. I don't pretend that I want to code it myself, and I don't want to, but my job is to understand. I do the same with languages. I do the same with every area where previously I didn't have enough education to go through. And what I see is that we humans will have this idea that in future the technology will be something that will be installed in our brain. As if, like in the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, there was this small babblefish that you're supposed to put into your ear. Well, we actually have this babblefish now. It's just in our phone, and it's in the product, which is an app. But essentially, we develop extensions to our brain to give us capabilities in the areas which we haven't seen before. And I feel like obviously AI have a lot of things that can be scary, and we see a lot of stories, and I don't want to, well, I'm a tech optimist, so I feel optimistic about the spread of the technology.
So you're saying AI as an upskilling tool for ourselves, as a learning tool?
It elevates me. It's as if I'm having like a third leg or an extra heart, but actually an extension to my, not to brain, not to the memory, to my learning capabilities, which is absolutely crucial because our job is to learn. And while like human brain is amazing, we can make conclusions out of 2 examples. So we can say like, well, number of examples confirm what I'm saying, number 1, number 2. And that's enough for us to understand patterns. Well, AI works in a different way. It's like, it's thinking is in a different way. I can't calculate with the speed of the computer things that they can calculate, but I can make decisions in some other things. So I feel like I can partner my way of thinking with this way of thinking, and that helps me. Small example, well, I can't write in English the way I can write it in Russian. When you're raising funds, you do a lot of email communication. If you write an email which is accurate in terms of grammar and syntaxes, but which is not like fluent enough, a person who's reading that, he doesn't feel that you are like a professional. This person feels that you're somebody, well, who's not a professional, right? Because of your writing, because of how you look. Now, in our world, there are millions of immigrants who are using their second language for professional communication. Those people can be elevated because of AI. Imagine how many people now have access to the jobs because people do not assume by the way you look that you are not something, by the way you write that you are not something, by your LinkedIn profile or by your education or by your first university or by the city where you were born or by who your parents are, that you are incapable of doing something. And this, like just being on the same ground as a normal person, for those who have some, and all of us have some certain insecurities, that's a lot.
So it helps, yeah, in terms of education. Any more to add? I mean, this is really interesting. Do you want to add anything from your experience?
One of the things I'd just sort of say to everyone is I think sometimes there's a bit of an overwhelm with all of the AI talk. But the reality is, whilst machine learning and AI goes back many decades, there are also ongoing developments all the time. I always joke and say, we're all learning and so are the machines. Everybody is learning. The machines, as you know, make mistakes. We're all figuring this out. There is so much information as people experiment. No one is really an expert. There are people, yes, who have done lots of things in the past, and there are things that we are applying from the past. Some things aren't all new. Having worked in a technical and engineering field that was sort of much older, I sometimes see, I'm like, oh, that's just the same as, you know, as that concept. It's applying the same physics or principles and engineering principles from hardware to software, and even the name, the language is used the same. You know, back pressure might mean something in fluid dynamics, but it also might mean something in terms of the traffic that's going through a site. So it's the same concept. So 1, don't think everything is brand new. 2, it is kind of brand new and everyone's learning, including the machines. So you don't have to be an expert. So there are lots of opportunities to continue to learn and continue to upskill. And the pace, I would agree, is so fast. Sometimes you're trying to solve a problem and the next week somebody's released some open source software that can kind of solve that. So there's the resources you can listen to, you can watch, depending on your learning style. You can ask the LLMs themselves. There's lots that you can all catch up with and learn, but then there's also opportunities around AI. It's not just coding, but in a whole plethora of roles. I recently was in a discussion with a group of women, and there was a woman, a very young woman in the room, and she was one of the only females who work in data centers in the UK. And there are going to have to be more data centers with what we're doing with AI going forward. And she is one of the people literally at the foundation of what we're all doing. And it's completely isolating for her. She broke down in tears in that room because She's one of 3 in the entire UK, and they put all 3 of them in different locations. You know, they have 1 woman each, you know, so everyone, spread the odds of the 3 women that they have. But she's an incredible role model, but just doesn't know it yet. But that's an opportunity. It's a great paying role. Why shouldn't there be a woman in that kind of role? And that is one of 1,000 roles that are related to what we need to develop AI products. And there could be lawyers who have to work within this space. You don't necessarily have to do a tech role, but there's so much that can be involved in with AI, because AI is a tool. It has to then be part of everything we're using. So those are the 2 kind of things.
Yeah, and these are 2 points we were going to address. So I'm going to stick with maybe the inclusivity and the ethical element of it before moving into the role of women in AI as well. So in terms of the inclusivity and ethical element, why is it hard to have inclusive AI? Because we all hear, you know, AI is the way it's built, it's not inclusive, it's not gender neutral. Why is it so hard?
I think everybody knows why. It's because of the lack of diversity. It's just, it happens to be, if you have a, not so diverse group of people building something, they're not going to realize that they're using data sets for training that are biased. I think it's as simple as that.
So what can be done?
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. It's like we all know that's happening. So what can be done? And I think this is the thing that makes me not sleep at night. It's like, what can be done? Why does this continue to happen? What really bothers me is when I'm recruiting data scientists, there are barely any women applying for the jobs, and I don't understand why. And I think is that the role still has a kind of a stereotype of, it's the white male, and it's this kind of like egotistical guy. He kind of works and like comes up with this really cool algorithm, and then then wows everybody. And they get away with it because a lot of people don't understand AI. So the bosses go, wow, this is really amazing. And if you start digging into what he's done, it's actually got tons of biases. There's lots of problems with the algorithm. So AI's got an image problem. So how do we solve this problem? This is what really bothers me, because I really want to figure out how. And I think it is what we were talking about earlier, is that communication, that it is a multidisciplinary job. Like data science, there's no one size fits all. If you really want to produce really strong, good algorithms, you're going to have to need all your skills. And the skills that I see very much lacking in a lot of data scientists is collaboration. There are a lot of people that love to go into a room, never talk to anybody, build an algorithm by themselves, and then present it to people. How many?
You get them to present?
Yeah, you get them to present. Yeah.
So you say we need more soft skills, what we call the human skills, as opposed to the technical
I don't call
skills.
them soft.
How do you call them?
I call them
skills.
like essential skills.
Essential skills.
Yeah, essential
Human
skills. Human skills. To build strong algorithms, you can't just know how to code. You can't just know your statistics. If you don't know how to communicate exactly what's going on with the algorithm, you're not going to make a better algorithm. If you're afraid to talk to somebody, if one of your data scientists is afraid to talk to somebody, that means there's a flaw in their algorithm. They're hiding something.
So I guess it's like in product development. We have lots of founders here. Before you develop your products, you go out of the building and you go and talk to your potential customers. So it's the same methodology, the same approach.
Exactly. So if we need to together break that image that this data scientist is a solo person that goes into a room and creates his algorithm, that is not the way you create good data science. And if we break that image, then it's going to be more welcoming for women to want to join that. I don't want to go into a room and by myself and create an algorithm. That's boring. I love coding, but I also love, talking to people and understanding
co-creation,
that collaboration.
Yeah.
So I think it's just that communication, that data science, it's a multidisciplinary field. You can come into it from many different angles, and they're all valid. They're not soft skills. Essential skills.
Essential skills.
Yes.
So there's hope for all of us, right?
Yes.
Anything to add?
Yeah, I would 100% agree with that. And I think there are 2 things in addition that we often miss in the conversation around ethics and inclusivity. I think one of the things is that it's treated as a separate topic for your DEI person to figure out, and it's an HR topic, for example, which we don't do with anything else. Everything else is an engineering constraint. So you may have heard recently about ChatGPT 4.0, and you can actually interact and talk with it. They had an issue with interrupting, as humans do. We interrupt each other when we speak. And that's just an element of, it's a challenge. It's a challenge of interacting with the product. And that becomes an engineering problem to solve. And we don't really look at ethics and inclusivity that way. You know, maybe you might have, okay, we have less able-bodied people in our data set. If it was, we have less red dots in the data set, nobody would look at that as a diversity problem necessarily. They'll look at it as a technical challenge. And yes, it is an important HR problem to solve, but it actually, if you actually just treat it the same way as you do any other technical challenge, so if you have to get things into a smaller chip, or you have to get it into a bridge, you have to make sure it can actually carry the load of people. There's an engineering challenge that the builders then have to solve, and it's never really seen like that, and everything else is. Everything, I don't understand why that is a separate thing that doesn't actually have anything to do with the engineers. But then what happens is that we then, at the same time, kind of only focus on the development team. And sometimes the bias actually happens way before the development team gets involved. And this is actually a paper that myself and my co-founder and a former colleague are writing at the moment, which is organizational bias. So, and sometimes it's well-meaning. You know, it's a very astute business decision to make, to focus on one market, a target customer. Any founder in here, you've been told who's your niche, who are you targeting. Now imagine if I'm doing an edtech product and I say my niche is private school pupils in London. I'm going to have a very biased data set by nature of my business decision. That's nothing to do necessarily with my technical team yet, but that is just, I've decided that that's the product. And now when I then go roll that out to state schools, it doesn't apply very well, or it doesn't work very well, or as we talked about earlier, the same routing algorithm doesn't work well in the cities as in the rural areas. And actually, initially that might not be a technical decision, it might be a business decision to do that. And there are lots of examples of business decisions, maybe it's to save time, to save costs, that then ripple down into the development team way down the line, and can lead to issues, including not hiring diverse teams. Oh, I want the top talent from this school. Well, actually, then you then have one profile of team, and oh, guess what? They're also building a product around health and biometrics, and they don't understand that women have different bodies, right? So these are things, they're business decisions that then weave their way down, and we kind of only think about it right at the point of the code, or maybe once the product's released. But nobody speaks about the organizational decisions that
So what you're
drive
saying is
bias.
really connecting the dot in an organization, you know, involving a lot of stakeholders. I mean, I had the question, what are the stakeholders? But I think from the conversation, we kind of gather, you know, it's everybody. And I'm sure you can relate, you know, as part of the audience to that. I'm conscious of time, so I'm going to ask a final question around the theme about how we can develop more leaders in the sector. Any thought, you know, in terms of what can be done to encourage more women? You know, anyone here in the room who wants to join the sector, what would you say to them?
I feel like what Startup Grid said in the beginning is that what you need to do is just to give a lot and start with this. That will help. Also, the other thing is, quite agree with the previous, like you were answering the previous question, the problem doesn't start with the development team. Well, I'm very proud that 80% of my AI development team are female. Is female. And the reason behind it is that I know that for a female developer, it takes 10 steps to get to the 5th floor, while for the male developer, it takes only 5 steps to get to the 5th floor. So I will always hire somebody who made a longer journey, because most likely it will pay back. And I feel like the only thing that we can do is to help each other and to be able to find time to help others who you feel are good leaders, because at some point we all will benefit from bringing more people to the industry and by empowering the community. And it's very easy. Like, if the community around you is flourishing, you are surrounded by people who are better well off. So it's very rational thing to do. So apart from that, I don't know what else.
So I guess we can start to help each other here today. Do you want to add something else? And then I got one more question which I'll ask you.
Yeah, I agree with everything you've just said, and it also starts younger. I volunteer with a girls' school in the UK, and this year I watched a young computer science teacher go from only 2 young girls wanting to take computer science at A level to, and I said to her, you're not gonna run an A level with 2 students, like the school's not gonna fund that. And I went for my latest meeting, and she's got a full class. Over 30 girls want to take computer science for A level, and she took them on tasters. She exposed them to what they can do with computer science, which doesn't necessarily mean they're going to have to be a coder at the end of their study. And so that for me, she's an inspiration to go from 2 girls to over 30 students wanting to take this as A-level. Last year we didn't run an A-level in computer science for this school, was incredible for me. So it starts really young. It starts probably before that age, exposing young girls. I've been talking to young women for a long time, and I've had comments like, well, that's a man's job, and this is like in quite recent years, or I want to just have a nice handbag. And I was like, well, I bought my nice handbag with the money I made in this. So it's about kind of showing them what opportunity.
That's how you get it.
That's how you get the handbag. So it's about showing them what's available. But I this is probably for another panel, but I think we also have an issue with supporting female leaders. I am seeing my peers, myself included, leave the corporate world in droves. And I think being the only one oftentimes is a huge pressure. I don't think we have time to get to that today.
No, I think we keep it for another time, but it's a very good point. And before I open up to the audience, one question, and I think you prompt me to ask you this question. How can we all stay ahead of the game? I think it was you, right? We had been preparing before, but someone say, okay, because I guess it's important, how can we all stay ahead of the game, anyone we should be following, podcast, book, what piece of research should be all following, so we stay on top of the technology.
I'm going to turn it around. And sometimes, you can compare yourself to other people, and you always think you're not good enough. I'm going to talk a bit about imposter syndrome, because I think it's the one thing that holds a lot of women back. And the 2 ways to deal with it, which I've learned. I have imposter syndrome all the time. And there's one thing is that most people bullshit. So they look like they're really great. They're incredibly good at marketing themselves, but they might not be as good as you think they are. In fact, most people are not as good as they say they are. So that's trick number 1. The second thing, which I've loved, this has been the most interesting thing in my life, is someone underestimates you, it's telling you more about them than about you. And remember that. When someone insults you, they're telling you more about them, not about you. And if you remember that, you're going to be able to turn that imposter syndrome around the other way. So I'm saying this because sometimes we look out, but sometimes we need to look in. And we need to realize how powerful we already are and what we're capable of, because that's what actually keeps you going.
That's a good
message. Can I add to that, basically?
You can, of
because
course.
This is a big anxiety, and this you have to stay ahead of this, you have to be better than that, and it's okay with the human beings, with technology. I understand that I can't not be ahead of the technology, and I cannot work with a speed which is faster than my speed. And I can do only things with the speed that I can. I try. And I know that as a person who is prone to anxieties and prone to be critical about the outside world and myself, obviously, I know that my bias is underestimating my result. So whenever I feel anxiety about me not knowing something, not performing well, doing my job as a founder worse than something, I know that this is as if you have a fever of the brain, as if you have a runny nose, or you have a bleeding of the brain or the bruise. So this is something which is which actually prevents me from working well. So whenever my brain tells me, oh, Tonya, you had a list of 25 things and you only did 3. So next morning I will wake up and then and I will only look at the things that I haven't done, instead of thinking, I know that this is like running nose, but it's like running brain, or it's like something bad is going down there, and it won't help me because I'm already prone to self-critics, and I never will. And if this conversation is happening, I can't stop it. I can just say, this is wrong. I know for sure that this voice is a wrong voice, and if I will keep listening to this voice, it will prevent me from having a productive day. So I have to shut it up and keep moving. And even, I know how stupid it is, saying to yourself, I'm good in this, I'm good in that. So I switch off on the voice of my grandmother and like rehearsing
get
what
some
she
positive reinforcement.
Yes,
on
and
what
I know
we
how
do.
it's cuckoo, and this voice is like, 20, what are you doing? But then I insist on saying I don't have to be ahead of the technology because it's impossible. And if I will set myself an impossible goal, I will end up frustrated. And if I will end up frustrated, I won't have energy to work.
So very good say. I'm going to stop this conversation. It's very good, but I want to open the floor. Yes, do I have 5-10 minutes for questions? Yeah? Who wants to ask the first question?
Thank you so much for the panel. It was very inspiring. This question comes from me when having a very little understanding of AI, and I'm building a business in it myself, and the big question that I have is, like, especially for women's health, there is very little good data that applies to women because of lack of research. So now we're training all this AI and there's many amazing content founders that are building businesses based on AI that is trained on data that's based on white men, pretty much. How do you think we can bridge this gap that we have in women's and men's data? Is it a matter of hiring, like you said, a diverse team, or is it just a matter of hurrying up, getting as much as possible so we can train this AI accordingly and come up with good solutions? Who wants to take on that?
I can take this from a perspective of I've actually angel invested in a couple of femtech businesses. So it's not where I work, but it's a passion of mine because of the problem. And I think, again, think of your customer. So we also understand. So, you know, if I'm angel investing or using a women's health app or fertility app, I'm more willing to give my data because you are explaining to me, for example, we want more data. And I've spoken to female founders who are like, no, we don't have enough black women in our sample, or, you know, I have an inherited disease called sickle cell, and I'm like, how can you apply that to me? And it's like, I want to know more about your product. I want to know how it works for me. And because I know the issues, like, I'm your perfect kind of first user because I'm passionate about what you're doing and how it can help me. So making it intentional to connect with those customers and get their data, and they'll be more willing. They always say you're willing to give out pretty much any data as humans if it is of benefit for you, right? Spotify seems to know exactly what I need to play at any given time and what mood I'm in, and I'm okay with that because it works. You know, if they started to do some weird stuff or they started to be a bit, you know, not so benevolent, I'm gonna then shield my data. I'm like, they probably know me too well, but I'm okay because I like the service. So the female founders that I've met recently in this space are intentional about getting the right data because they know that that's going to build a great product. So I would also reach out to those and see what they're doing because they are actually doing the work to build new data sets. And you might be able to share some of the research that they're doing or collaborate. I think it's time for women to be building in this space.
Just to add on this note, I've met a founder of a medical startup at Google Accelerator, and she used the same insight. Her clients are companies like AstraZeneca, and they need some rare data to move forward their research. Her company is scraping the internet, social media, to find parents of children who have who are sharing something which is similar to what potentially are the symptoms of the disease. They, in a very obviously a careful way, approach those people. but they search across the world because they deal with the data that's so scared by nature. But I'm sure if you put on Instagram a banner, women, share your data, we need to develop better health systems for you, I will opt in.
Great. One more question.
But a comment on imposter syndrome. It's generally spoken about as though it's a bad thing. Well, first of all, it's not a syndrome, but there is this feeling that you're an imposter. If you're promoted to a new job, you can think, well, I'm not, an expert at this. Well, you've only just started, so you need to sometimes reframe it. And the positive thing about it is, if you think, well, I don't know everything, I will go out and learn. I will be the best. I was great in my last role. Bit tricky at the start. This one, I'm going to do the same. I'm going to learn. Instead of you got some arrogant man who thinks he knows it all, he's not going to try and improve and spend time studying. So it is a natural part of our makeup to think sometimes we're not good enough. Use it positively and say, yeah, I'm not necessarily good enough, but I am going to be.
I think we can relate to the
kind.
growth mindset.
Yeah, it's a
kind way of having a
growth mindset.
conversation
Yeah,
with
you're
yourself.
totally
Thank
right. Yeah, because then you also become a bit more humble. You're kind of nicer to work with because, you're going to be a bit more honest about what you know and what you don't know. And yeah.
I think for me, in my early part of my career, actually was quite helpful because I would then research everything. So I would be like, I didn't like not knowing something, so then I'd want to be like the most knowledgeable. But then I realized later on there is a darker side and it's not always good for your mental health. And so I'm probably still in the phase of still trying to balance that, okay, I want to be better and I want to grow, but also like you cannot debilitate yourself, or it can have just like anything else, it wears away at you. And I think, like you said, it's about knowing what you've done before, and there are certain situations it's okay to brag. I've interviewed women, and I've had one woman talk about someone else's experience in her interview, and I had to stop it and say, this is the one place you cannot be humble. Never talk about anyone else. And I gave her another go, and she did it. And so there's places like that where, at an interview, don't be humble. That's not the place. Or someone is going to pitch in a moment. It's not the place to be humble as well. Hint, hint. Like, show us like how good you are. And then there are other places where you can, like with your friends, break down. I have breakdowns all the time. So, you can do that. And then there are practical things we said we wanted to share. Your learning style. Know your learning style. There is a podcast I listen to called The AI Breakdown and The Cognitive Revolution. One's really short form, one's long form. Interestingly, my co-founder watches that on YouTube. It's the same podcast. I could not sit and look at that for an hour. I would have that in my headphones while I'm going to the gym, while I'm walking, while I'm in the car, then I'm sending him messages about it, and we just have a completely different way of consuming the same information. So you may actually prefer to do that in a book or a listen or watch. There are so many different modalities, and that's where you can passively keep up with literally new stuff every day. The AI Breakdown is a daily podcast about new stuff in AI. If you want to keep up, that is one, and it's 10 minutes long. I'm really interested right now in accuracy and improving accuracy. There's really good things around hallucination techniques or stopping hallucination, called RAG and vector RAGs. Again, we could talk about that later, but that's a new field. No one's an expert in it now. It's time to research it and
I think we've got quite a lot of topic to discuss after the next session. I think we got some pitch next. I want to conclude this conversation. Thank you so much. I think I'm finishing off this conversation being very hopeful. I think, as a woman and men into this field, there's so much potential. It's all about learning, pushing the boundaries, and looking for the application of AI in the best possible way. So thank you so much. And now I think hand over to Sam.
Hi everyone, so my name is Taiwo, you can call me Tai. I'm technical project manager, and we're building products called Speaking Bee, and we're leveraging on AI model to help in translation. So you can use Speaking Bee to translate any language in up to like 60 languages. And so we see a problem in the market with current product in the market. It could be inaccurate. The user interface could be quite cumbersome to use. And our audience could be people traveling, people trying to learn a new language, or people conducting business. So Speaking Bee, we've improved, we designed a user interface that could work with one-way or two-way communication. And you can also use like some of the features that we have, like a voice chat, voice memo, or voice journal. So you can put in your text, type it in, or probably speak it into the app, just a recording, or copy your translated word out of the app, and then you can also speak directly to the app in English or any language. It has like an auto detection that captures your speaking language, and then selects your target language, and then you get your translation from there. So the app is currently live on Play Store, and as well as Apple Store. If you have an Apple device, you can actually test up you can scan the QR code. It takes you to the website where you can download the app, play with it. If you are traveling next to a country around in Europe and you just want to translate to French or Spanish or anything, you can actually try out the app and see the way it works.
Have you ever thought about building your own SaaS startup, but you got frustrated with the idea of expensive consultants, having way too much to learn and no guidance? Well, today I'm launching Product Byte. It's one platform that answers all of your questions through a series of follow-along videos where I build startups in public. What we'll do is that we'll analyze competitive marketplaces, spot unique opportunities, and design solutions for that space. We'll cover the basics, such as market analysis, user research, data analysis, prototyping, and strategic planning. So that'll take you through your pre-seed funds. But we'll move on to more advanced concepts, such as vertical expansion, delivery optimization, strategic road mapping, and team coordination for your Series B rounds. Product Byte is £50 a year. You'll have access to all of the videos as well as our online community. You could also find us on TikTok, where we'll be sharing free advice in short form videos. So if you're interested, sign up to our waiting list at productbyte.com.
Hi, I'm Ashutosh Aman. Can you hear me? I'm a co-founder at Fund Factory Tech. Sorry for the mouthful. It's just call it FFT. Bit of seniority on my end, as you can spot. A lot of capital market expertise and technology expertise, and so we bring that to solve problem facing access to financing. Now, just to give you a context, I don't know if you're aware, 70% of the job worldwide in emerging market are created by small and medium enterprises, SMEs, but they face challenge accessing capital, which amounts to $5.2 trillion a year. Now, by 2030, we need to generate 600 million new jobs to employ a growing population. 70% of that is 420 million new jobs. And if those youth doesn't get employed, you know what problem we have on our hand, right? And on the other hand, you have infrastructure investment in emerging market. Now, I give this quick example to folks. My background is in infrastructure investment. My other co-founders have background in SMEs. That if you are investing large funds, let's say $100 million into a project, and you hire lawyers, so some in the room here, and some due diligence, and say you spend $500,000, that's just 0.5% of the total cost of investment. You invest over a 10-year time, simple math, is 0.05% hit on your IRR. But if you're looking to invest into a smaller project, say $2.5 million, and you're very stingy, and you reduce the transaction cost down to $250,000, you're looking at still 10% transaction cost. And that's why those don't get done, right? So now that's why the problem exists. So how do we solve this problem? So to go forward, what we decided, we'll focus on SME first and then infrastructure investment. We launch our brand called Platinum in Colombia, and we provide access to financing to SMEs. Now, the easiest way to explain to you this structure, that we work with corporate partners because we want to reduce the transaction cost, you want to reduce the customer acquisition cost, and you want to reduce the operation cost. Otherwise, you won't be able to deliver the cost of financing that they need at a lower, right? So, for example, we work with Coca-Cola in Colombia. Now, when the sales force go to deliver a bottle of Coke, they offer, you want to pay by cash or pay by our credit. You say pay by our credit, they initiate the loan application on WhatsApp. In 15 minutes, we approve or deny. When we approve, we pay to Coca-Cola. Next time when the same sales force goes to deliver the bottle of Coke, if they haven't paid, then they become our collection agent. And that's how we try to solve the problem. Now, the slide didn't come out right, but the previous slide, the impact we're creating is amazing, right? There are SMEs who don't have access to credit the first time they are getting into the credit ladder. On one of the platform, 45% of borrowers are women. So I'm happy I'm here in the Women Focus Forum. This is the numbers over the last 2 years since we launched. We have disbursed $1.3 million, over 4,500 loans, and we have about 900 borrowers. So now after Colombia, we're going to launch and looking at Kenya and Uganda as our next geography to expand. So thank you very much.
My name's Gabriel and I'm the CEO and founder of GigBridge, a platform for construction companies to manage their project spend and manage supplier relationships. So before launching GigBridge, I actually worked at a company called TaskRabbit, and I was inspired by my cousins and uncles who actually work in construction. They struggled to find work close to home, so we initially set out to build sort of an Uber for construction, connecting construction companies working on commercial projects with skilled professionals. And our customers liked us, but they didn't love us. So we started to look at problems that they faced every day that were more frequent. And one of the major topics that all of our customers complained about was managing costs and their actual cash flow. So we pivoted last year to build the modern financial management system that would help them do that. Construction projects are almost always over budget, and that's because the methods used to estimate how much a construction project will cost are typically based on textbooks, individual experiences, and at best they are educated guesses. Now, when it comes to actually tracking their cost against those estimates, they have to sift through hundreds, sometimes even thousands of documents from different suppliers that come in different formats. So this is where we come in. We take their data as is. They can forward any document into our system via email or via uploading it directly into the platform. We use AI to extract the important financial and supplier-related information and map that to a real-time dashboard showing them their profitability and their supplier spend. We also integrate with their existing accounting system so that they don't have to re-upload this data again twice. Next slide. Now we're starting with a financial management platform, but our vision is to build a modern operating system for construction companies, essentially enabling them to manage all of their business end-to-end, automating entire workflows that previously took hours, if not days, every single month. We're currently raising £1 million and we have just under 70% of that round committed, with commitments from Morgan Stanley Ventures, an Innovate UK grant, and a few angels. We launched in March earlier this year, and with 2 pilot customers who have now converted to paying customers. And this slide's a little bit outdated. We're now at 6 customers at the end of June, and our aim is to get to 50 customers by the end of the year. Today, I'm looking to meet with anyone who actually works in construction, angel investors, and anyone who'd like to chat more about construction.